I sit on the Special Committee on Intelligence in the Senate. I also sit on the Armed Services Committee. And so national security is an area where New Yorkers care a deep amount about. And I've been spending the last 15 years focused on how we keep this country safe and what we should be doing. And so I get a lot of questions from New Yorkers about this issue. So I want you to address the drone issue for sure, because that is something you and I have been working on continuously since we've seen these incursions. And just to give a little more context for New Yorkers who might be listening to this debate, we've had drone incursions over sensitive military sites for quite some time now. And it's something that I've been working on a bipartisan basis through the Intelligence Committee. And some of these incursions are every night, over and over again, over sensitive military bases. There was one over Langley. We've had them over arsenals in New Jersey, over sensitive sites in New York. We've had them over military bases across the country. And, you know, I don't like it when the answer is, oh, we know where most of this is. This is mostly FAA traffic. And I don't like it when I hear it from this administration or any administration, because it's not true. Some of the drone sightings are planes in the air, helicopters, you know, maybe weather balloons, maybe enthusiasts, but they do not know if all are. And in these specific incursions, they do not know the origin of them. They do not know whose they are. They do not know who is operating them. They do not know the purpose of these drones. These drones could easily be spying. They could be planning attacks. They could be doing anything nefarious. We have no basis to say it is all known and we are not concerned. And so this is something we are going to get to the bottom of. I am very incensed about it. It does not leave our personnel as safe and does not leave our secrets safe. So drones is one issue. The second issue, if you could address on the national security side, is cybersecurity. I think that, and election security, one of the cuts that the Doge boys made, which I literally cannot understand why they would ever do this. This is making us weaker. It is making us less safe. It is not good for America. And it shows how ill-advised this process is and how uninformed this process is and how we can see through these cuts how insincere this process is. This is not about waste. This is not about fraud. This is not about good government. This is about making massive cuts for tax breaks for billionaires, because that is where they want to spend your tax dollars. New Yorkers' tax dollars and New Jerseyans' tax dollars. They want to take it and give it to tax breaks to the billionaires. Okay, so this is the question. These cuts, they have cut all the personnel, or the main personnel, at an organization called CISA that were supposed to be doing election security. So the people who actually were working with the states to make sure our election system can't be hacked, they fired those people. They fired the senior personnel at the Department of Defense, our most experienced generals, across the board, members from the Joint Chiefs of Staff, just fired them. For what reason? I don't know. No substantive reason was ever given. But these are the senior personnel who actually keep us from wars, who have the judgment and the experience to advise the president, to advise Congress, to advise us on how to keep us safe. And then the last group they cut were the lawyers. Do you remember that Shakespeare play, The First Thing We Do is Kill All the Lawyers? Well, the context in which that was given was in order to have a coup. So Shakespeare, hundreds of years ago, said, if you want to have a coup, the first thing you do is kill all the lawyers. Well, they fired all the lawyers, the senior lawyers at the Department of Defense. They fired the generals who actually know how to keep us safe. And then they fired the personnel at CISA who are responsible for election interference. They fired the people at the FBI who are also responsible for election interference. So again, these firings make no sense. I don't think they're making us I don't think they're making us more safe. I think they are making us less safe. When you fire the people who know what they're doing and are dedicated to keeping us safe, Does it make us safer? What do you think, Senator Booker, about any of the topics that I raised, specifically the drones, the firing of the election protection personnel at CISA, the firing of the generals, the firing of the senior lawyers at the Department of Defense, firing of the FBI personnel, also expert at election interfering? These are the smartest, most capable, the most sophisticated senior personnel that are there to help us keep this country safe.